So earlier this week, I came out with a video talking about the games my friend NintenDaan and I got to play at Gamescom. Well, since then, some embargoes have lifted for 3 other games we got to play at the event. Those being Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake, Romancing Saga 2 Revenge of the Seven, and Little Nightmares 3. So let's get started with the 2 games Dawn got to play.
Funny enough, it's not been that long since I played the original Romancing Saga 2. I actually played this at the end of 2017 for the first time, and I didn't really love the story. I loved the gameplay systems. If you realize this game originally came out on the Super Famicom, in some ways, this game was ahead of its time. In a lot of areas, you could build up a kingdom, you could put characters in formation, and save the world from some corrupt heroes is never a bad thing. But now 30 years later, I honestly wish that this was the version that I originally played. It's not a happy story. There are 7 heroes, they protect a country called Avalon. They get locked away for 1,000 years, come back, turn twisted, and you now have to take the reins to save the world. Immediately from the get-go, game looks beautiful. I never thought that I wanted a 3D remake of Romancing Saga 2, but I really went all out. And not just in the visual style, but the way it looks. The characters are animated beautifully, they have more style to them, especially if you look back at the concept art for these characters. They have now embraced that fully, which is wonderful to behold. I think the battle system is the thing that makes this unique. So you create formations in which your party are placed so that you can protect certain characters but also still use their full amount of their abilities. Which is important because Romancing Saga really offers a lot of characters which have a lot of specific needs or stuff that you can do with them, which each has specific advantages which can be really useful at a moment's whim. And while you still use attacks from a menu, every character has certain moves and spells that they can only use in the first instance that you play them. Enemies only have a few weaknesses, right? So you need to have a good combination of those characters, which makes swapping with them sort of a necessity. You can also really enhance their arsenals, and not by leveling up. By playing with them, they will get this bulb on the top of their head, which is called a glimmer, which gives them a new idea for an attack, which they can then instantly use, and it will just populate in their menus, which is a cool way of introducing new mechanics as you go throughout the game. The cool thing about Romancing Saga 2 is that they've really enhanced the story elements of this game. The original was super dry. I just told you, oh, this is happening. This is a thing we need to do. They've added more flavor text throughout the journey of this game. It feels like actual interactions between 2 characters. And that's what you want out of an RPG. The original Romancing Saga 2, when it was translated back in 2016, was very mediocre. It didn't add much of anything to it. With the remake, you're not playing just a modern RPG that just happens to be old, which is frankly the best thing. Which also means hopefully this will be the first time that a lot of Western people will experience Romancing Saga 2 as the way it should be. Full of life, full of intriguing characters, full of a story where you don't know where it's going. That is the major takeaway. Well, that and the really cool boss battles that you will have against the 7 really twisted heroes. It's not an easy game, it's quite challenging, but if you are the person who can really relish in that, I think Romancing Saga 2 will really promise to be a good time. Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake. Wow, I am a very happy man. So, the thing is, I already loved Dragon Quest III. I think it's one of my favorite RPGs of all time. What I'm the most impressed by with Dragon Quest III is how much it feels like the original, but it adds so much little details and nuances that I could have only dreamed of. I think for starters, it is good to establish a baseline about why I love Dragon Quest III. I think the world is literally one of the best things about Dragon Quest III. It is so similar to our world with all of its different cultures, but also slightly twisted to make it into a JRPG. So I played this on Nintendo Switch. I played this in handheld mode. I just sat there for half an hour, my mind empty, able to go and do whatever I want in the world that I already knew, sort of. So what I did, I looked at my party, saw what I had at hand, and obviously I saw the jobs, the new invocations were available in my party. The new one is Monster Wrangler, which allows you to use different monsters' abilities. There was, for example, one instance where I used a roar, where I could stack all enemies at once, which was very effective for crowd control. More so when I went to battles, I felt convenienced, which is a weird way to phrase this. They've added modern conveniences that you know from later Dragon Quest games, for example with the battle tactics. So you can allow another person in your party to automatically attack or defend or focus on a certain aspect in battle. So in the opening moments, I sort of relied on that and speed up the battles a tiny bit, so I don't have to think about every minute detail, so that I could take in as much as I possibly could. Ultimately, that was how I wanted to spend my time with the demo, because I did want to see a little bit of Romaria, where the town we were located in, and see how the effects of HD-2D sort of affected the way that I knew from before. And it did it a lot, like a lot. I think there is where the biggest strides are made, because the beautiful thing about HD-2D is that you see, for example, the castle slowly coming in from the background. It has this globe vibe to it, where if you inch closer to something, you see it more and more in front of you. Similar to how you would walk up a mountain and see what is coming up next. It has a completely different feel to it that I haven't experienced in Dragon Quest III before, because it used to be all top-down view. And that makes this experience inherently completely unique. And I'm very excited about where this will take us. And including with the new story bits, because they can do so much new elements that have never been really seen before in Dragon Quest game with the inclusion of HD-2D. It is absolutely insanity that they want to go in this hard. Like, even in the small details, right? Even in the small details. Party sprites have more personality than ever before. They used to be very substandard. You would change your invocation or your job and it would change in a completely different sprite. That's not there anymore. The characters actually just change outfits, and you can even change the characters a little bit more depending on your preferences. It's very difficult to understand that this used to be an NES or a Super Famicom game or Super Nintendo game. How much they're adding. Like the orchestrated soundtrack too. It just feels like a more complete experience. I am so excited to see what they will do in the final game, what they will add, what they will show us, where this is going, because frankly, there must be like a bigger purpose to remaking these games. Obviously to bring in a new audience, that's for sure, but for the people who are searching for something new in these games, what are they going to offer? And that side alone, including all the changes they're making, really intrigue me.
So after playing 2 demos for Little Nightmares 3, I came away more excited for the game than I thought I'd be. Yes, that was a rhyme. Anyway, the first demo had me choose between 2 kids, Lo and Alone, who play very similarly but have different tools. Lo has a bow and arrows, and Alone uses a wrench. These were used for puzzles instead of combat, but judging by the trailers, there appears to be some light combat like there was in the second game. The character you don't choose will be controlled by a fairly competent AI. So if I chose Alone with her wrench, then Lo would use his bow automatically if a puzzle called for it. This is similar to how Little Nightmares 2 worked, but unlike that game, a second player could join you online, which is where my next demo came in. I teamed up with someone else to get through a demented factory, dodging a gigantic puppet woman with multiple arms. It was fun trying to navigate our way around her because the game doesn't hold your hand that much, aside from telling you what button does what at the very beginning. We died loads of times trying to figure out the proper solution, only to find that we had to time her movements to get out of her way. I found these puzzles, while not too difficult, still satisfying for the mere reward of seeing what was going to be in the next room, which is what the Little Nightmares games are all about. They are relatively simple puzzle platformers, but they take you on a ride that's both terrifying and beautiful, with vast locales that are a feast for the eyes. And Little Nightmares 3 appears to be continuing this tradition, now with co-op thrown in there. Yeah, these games are a vibe, and now that I've played Little Nightmares 3, I'm quite excited to play the final release come next year. And you know, the timing of this preview is great, because the second Little Nightmares is available now on PlayStation Plus Essential, which I highly recommend. Hell, I'll probably go back and play it myself at this point. I really forgot just how great the Little Nightmares games are. They're not overly complex, but they take you on a ride, and I appreciate that. But if you want to see any more previews from Gamescom, Daan and I got to play a lot more demos than just these 3, so be sure to check out my previous video if you want some more gaming goodness.